Hey guys, welcome to the shop where we're going to be working on my Pro Spec build S14. Today I'm going to be making a new tube front end for this car because my one that I was using last year is KO'd. And it did everything that it needed to do perfectly. The only thing that I'm going to do different this year is have a couple spares. So if you bring the camera over here, I'll show you the 4 mounting points that we have. These have internally threaded bungs inside of the tube, and these caps just bolt on. These are going to be where I weld the tubes to. They're miter cut, so I have a nice large weld area here, but I have easy access to the bolt on this side, and it just looks a little bit better, and it's a little bit lighter weight because I don't need any material in this area. Coming down here, it's going to bolt to this section. The front section of this is heavily reinforced for the chassis to not bend and the tube front to bend. So anything that goes on or impacts this front end is going to fail before this structure does, which is the key. I can just easily bolt it off, swap to my spare and put it back on if anything happens out on the track. Yeah, the design is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to make like a rad support style. It's going to be a little kind of wavy like our original one here. So these points were on the caps. I actually cut the caps off of this one to use again as the spare because they were fine and they were kind of machined and took a little while to make. So I'm going to keep those. We've got our Cnc Cut Headlight Mounts that I'm not going to use these ones anymore, but I have some more cut that we're going to use. And yeah, we're just going to show you guys the purpose and the idea behind the design so that our chassis rigidity is extremely high, but you still have a crumple zone in the front end that is going to work in your favor whenever something happens. I'm just going to touch on a couple things to do with the design of this. I did go over it in the Pro car, but like the engine's out and the car's all stripped down so you can see everything really well. I have a tube here that runs and is tied right into the tower. These towers on S chassis are known to be extremely weak and flimsy. Without this tube, you can literally grab the corner of this and you could move it up and down by hand if there was no structure here. So we also have these 1/2-inch thick aluminum fender braces on the side as well that improve the structural integrity of this corner section because we are not allowed to run intrusion bars that connect to the towers. This zone is meant to stay and absorb impact, but to get that rigidity back, we bolt these on the side. They connect to the doors and the front section, and it just improves the rigidity and handling of this car a lot. I'm also going to add one thing, and that is a strut bar that goes between these 2 points and further stiffens the front end of this car because the strut bar is allowed. It is FD legal. I have a little bit of a interference issue because I have a huge intake right here, so I won't be able to do the standard plate with a bar in between, but I can get a bit creative and make something that goes around and is easily removed. So I'll show you guys the process on that and give you guys some ideas if you want to go ahead and make something for the front of your car. This is just an adapter that I made. I use it on the end of the tubes so that I can spin them and clean them without having to do too much manual work. Preps them really well for welding and it looks a lot better. So super fast. I've gotten a lot of questions on how we clean the tubes. This tube that I'm cleaning is 1.5 inches and this cap is 1.75 inches with a 120 wall, making the inside diameter the same as the outside diameter of this. Weld a couple of nuts on. I actually don't use these because the fit is tight enough to slip on and not really come off unless you... So it's got pretty good grip on it without clamping it at all. And then you have a nice clean length. I cut these a bit long, so I probably won't even use this section of the tube that doesn't get clean, but you could easily grab a buddy and get him to polish up the end, or just do the ends do the ends by hand. So. Old Faithful. Oh, it just slips right on. I have 100 PSI in my hands. It leaks a little bit. 50 degrees. So the shape's good, fit's good. I know what I gotta do a couple notches on the ends. I'm gonna add just a slight roll here with my tube roller to give it a bit of a rounded shape on the end, which will bring the ends in a little bit more. And then we'll throw the fenders on and the hood on and the bumper on, because that's gonna show us where everything needs to sit, where the headlights are gonna go. And yeah, then we'll just do it all over again. So I have the second part, So rolling tube, super easy with a simple tube roller like this. But what it does is, especially with roll cages and stuff, if you need to get that fine-tuned angle or bring some bends in or fit to a contour of the car that a bend would just be too tight for, rolling is like very acceptable in terms of structural integrity. It doesn't really change much. The dies keep the diameter the same. And like, for example, I need to bring these two ends in about 1/4 of an inch. If I roll this maybe 2 degrees over this front section, it's gonna bring these ends in that 1/4 inch, and it's gonna give a nice roll round look on the front of the tube. So there's a lot of things that you could do with a tube roller. Let's say you bent a main hoop a bit too wide and you rolled the middle section, it's gonna fit tighter to the roof in the center, and it's gonna bring both your ends in ever so slightly. So it's pretty beneficial to have one and to get things to look good, fit good, and still have all their structural integrity. So that's what we're doing with this. It's like we never broke it. Give it the old notch, slap it on, times it by 2, Control Alt duplicate, done. So this is our tube notcher. You guys have seen it in our roll cage video. It's gotta be the most versatile tube notcher on the planet, is a engine lathe. To do this notch, it's gotta bend, the height needs to be changed a bit and whatnot. I can easily just change the angle because I've got a dial here for setting my tool inserts for machining steel. You can change the angle of this just by loosening this clamp and moving it. So it's really easy to set your angle. I can just go in with the tube, go through with my cross slide in my saddle, bring the tube up. I can touch the tube off to the hole saw, and then I can go in a very precise amount with my dial here. And it just is, it's amazing. And you can literally buy these used for $1,500. So not only do we use it all the time for machining stuff and machining spacers and different parts, but we primarily use it for tube notching. So can't beat it. Okay, so we've completed our one of 2 pieces. We've coped the ends, beveled them. Just gonna see if we can Ooh, look at that. And there you have it. The rad support and the main structure of our tube front. We're gonna have some down tubes going here and build our bash bar off of this. But we're gonna do this one more time for our spare. What's going on?
How's it going?
I didn't know who you were. I could just see that there was a human there. All right, we've got our tubular structure, at least our base, complete ×2. We have the other one here that we've already bolted off. So this will be my spare, and then this will be my main one. And I'm gonna continue to make them identical. The next step from here would be to mount the bumper on. You can do this a number of ways. The Fenders actually have little slots for the bumper to sit on, so it'll be pretty easy for me to mock up, but if you were doing it a different way, you might want to hold the bumper off using boards or spacers or whatever on the ground to where it needed to be, and then you can make your bash bar fit inside of the bumper, and you can make the mounts to connect the bash bar structure, which will be a tube basically with 4 bends following the shape of the bumper, and we need to connect that to here, and then from there we're going to make our headlight mounts, our hood pins, and all the little technical stuff that actually takes longer to do than a basic structure like this. The key with this is make sure it clears the hood, make sure you have a good spot for mounting accessories and auxiliaries and mounts, whatever else you need to do, and make sure that it's easy to come off. So whenever we do engine work on this, it's 4 bolts and the whole end comes off. And everything is super accessible. You're not leaning over a rad support. You're not watching out for a bash bar on your knees or looking out for your headlights or anything. So this is definitely the best way to do a front end like this. We have a rear mount rad, so we don't need to worry about putting a rad anywhere. If I was doing that, it probably would have fit. Just looking at this, I could probably make one work up here, but I do have a lot of other accessories that take up the space, as well as a dry sump that's going to be sitting here. So I couldn't have really fit one because of that, but the tube structure would have worked if I needed it to. So that's the end of this video. We're gonna continue on this in the next one, where we're gonna finish off the bash bar and do all the accessory mounts, like I said, the hood pins and headlights and whatnot. And that'll wrap up this part of the car that we need to update for Pro Spec. And then we will continue on and do everything else that's on my list. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching. Over and out.